I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I put the mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns out with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's you lost, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Choke until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact.
I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed and
if you are a fan of Halloween, the holiday that is, if you're a fan of Halloween, the holiday, then this video is probably gonna catch your attention. You're really gonna like this video. We have the skateboard all prepped for artwork. So this skateboard's going to a show in October, mid-October. The customer wanted me to do a Halloween theme skate deck. Last year I did flames, multiple different layers of flames on a skate deck. Did really well. So this year we're doing a Halloween theme since the car show is near Halloween. I think it is October 18th is when the show starts. So it's that weekend over in Ohio, I believe. So we are doing a Halloween theme, and the theme I chose to do, I don't know if you guys can see it. It's kind of hard to see some of the sketch work I did and the transfer of it, but I will tell you that this is going to be a Headless Horseman / Sleepy Hollow art project that we're going to do on this skate deck. It's going to cover their entire board, and we're also going to do some not really mini truck graphics, but we're going to do a graphic on top of the artwork, so that way it looks like the artwork is underneath the graphic. And it's going to be really simple, really clean, but it's going to look really, really cool because we're going to use a different color to kind of make everything pop. But this is pretty much going to be a black and white project, and I chose black and white because I am going to do hints of color in different spots. So for I can't talk today, but the horseman on the horse is carrying a pumpkin. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's very hard to see it. But he has a pumpkin in his hand, getting ready to throw it. And his eye as well. And the horse is going to be all lit up like it's glowing. And we're going to do the same thing throughout this. We're going to put pumpkins. We're going to put like grave sites, tombstones all around this thing. Make it look really cool, as if it's one entire piece. And the way I ended up doing some of this stuff is, obviously I had to pick the theme, and what better way of saying, hey, it's Halloween than Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman, right? That's what I always kind of think about when I think about Halloween, is what comes to mind, and what's going to actually be related to other people for that subject matter. So this is why I chose Sleepy Hollow. Everybody's really familiar with it. You can do some really cool stuff with it. And yeah, that's what we're going to go with. So that's one thing I start with, is picking the theme for what we're going for. And then what I do is I start researching. Now, if you haven't seen the Johnny Depp Sleepy Hollow movie, I advise you go watch it. That's where I pulled a lot of references off of, was from that movie. On the right side of the board here, we have the windmill. And then we have the Sleepy Hollow tree that the Headless Horseman comes out of to come alive. And then on the left side, we have the covered bridge that he rides underneath of. Now, a lot of this stuff is exaggerated by me. The Headless Horseman is exaggerated a little bit. The covered bridge is exaggerated a little bit. I don't really like to copy exactly from everybody else's stuff. I usually tend to like warp things and layer images differently than the next guy. So this is all going to be like a collage representing the Headless Horseman and Sleepy Hollow. Like I said, we're going to throw in some tombstones and a gravesite and some pumpkins everywhere. We're going to light them up, and then we're going to put a graphic around it to complete the entire skateboard as a theme. It's pretty much going to be a one big mural for Sleepy Hollow. So once I do my research, and what I do is I tend to pick things about the theme that are really important. So all these, obviously the Headless Horseman, you got to have that in there. The windmill, the tree, the covered bridge, all that stuff is iconic to the character, right? And to the movie franchise. So those are the things I think about when I'm trying to plan out my design and how I want things to lay out. As I always think about what I need to pull from that subject matter. And these are the 4 things. Even though we're going to be adding things to this, these are the 4 major things from that franchise and that movie and the legend of Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman. So those are the things I look at when I research, and then what I do is I transfer. If I find an image I like, I'll pick and choose. I usually do like a mashup collage on my computer on my Wacom Cintiq 22 HD. I got a program where I can mismatch photos and draw and really create something before I even go into painting and transferring. So that's how I figure out all this stuff out, and it gives me an idea of what it's going to look like. And then I start and I transfer that image or those images, because my computer cannot print off this wide. I don't even have paper to print off this wide, so I compile it down to images and then I transfer it over. And what I use is a graphite paper to transfer images over, and I trace on that paper and it leaves. This time I didn't have any white transfer paper, so I used just regular black, and it transferred over in black. I don't know if you guys can see that bridge. It's really ghosted on there, especially the horseman. I can see it because it's shimmering in person, so I know where to go. But that's one thing when you do this stuff is you want to not make it, when you start airbrushing, it's going to cover it up, and that's what you want. You don't want to airbrush and put paint over it and then you can still see our lines. So you got to kind of make them faint. So yeah, I just didn't have any white. I usually do white on dark surfaces. That way I can see a little bit better and you guys can see a little bit better, but I didn't have any and I had no time to go out and buy any. So I just used the black, and I've never done the black on the black background before on paint, but it worked out pretty well because it blends into the black so well. So I'm going to set you guys up on a tripod. I want to mix my paint up and my airbrush, and what we're going to do is we're going to start mapping all this out, and just plain old white. It's going to be a little over reduced to get it flowing really well. We're going to figure all that out, and then like I said, we're just going to start mapping everything in white. And once everything is mapped in the way I want it, then we're going to start chiseling out the details with black and a little bit of white that's not so reduced, and start punching those details out. And then we'll start shading everything. I might even add a little bit of blue to the white and the black. That way they don't mix together and create like an awful brown color, because that's what happens when you mix straight black on top of white and vice versa. That white tends to get like a brownish color, like a dark tan. So you want to kind of prevent that by adding more blue into your black. So that'll help you dilute that darkness down, and it'll actually go more, it'll look more black as long as you don't add a ton of blue. It just takes a little bit of blue to that, and it'll dye out that brownish when it hits that white. So that's how I want to go about doing that. But I'm going to set you guys up on a tripod, and we're going to get the jamming away. So I'm gonna take a break from the time lapse here and let you guys really look at it. Just slowly building up that white. Nothing really concrete or anything just yet. But you can kind of see how everything's shaping out. Added a moon to it. I was gonna make it really big in the background to kind of cover a lot of this, but I think with all the tombstones and everything we're gonna have poking up around the bottom, and in the background over here on the left, I think making the moon too big would be too much. So, because a lot of this I want it to be really foggy, like the fog is coming in, like he's coming right off of the bridge, coming this way, heading towards the windmill and the tree to the right. So that's kind of why everything's moving from the left to the right. So that's what the goal is. So right now I'm going to leave the horseman and the moon in this center section alone. I think everything's mapped out the way I want it. I've got my lines, I've got all the definition that I need. That way I can go back in with a diluted black with some blue in it and start punching a little bit of stuff out. But we're gonna move along to the bridge. So I'm gonna scoot this down. If it will teeter-totter, I don't think it will. So we're gonna have to adjust our camera and everything and move you guys to the left. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating some depth within the clouds and the fog. Just creating whatever I see that looks cool. Because that moon, even though this is a kind of, the moon is on a separate image, we're going to make this look like the moon is going to be shining and brighten everything. So all the faces of everything on this side of the objects are going to be shining really bright because the moon is making it bright with its reflection. So that's the idea behind all this. Now I've got a really diluted white right now, so that's why I'm constantly going back and forth building this stuff up, because I don't want to get it so strong that it's spitting. White's really bad about spitting and sputtering, so I want to also build up these layers, that way they look like they've got clouds underneath clouds underneath clouds and all that other stuff. So this allows me to do that when it's over reduced. It's kind of looking cool. I'm liking that. In this movie, it's really foggy. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, like I said. But it's super foggy and dark and just dreary in the movie itself. So that's what I'm really trying to recreate here. That's a really cool setting from back in the day, so I'm trying to recreate all that darkness that it's coming out. So I got a couple clouds going on. I'm liking all that. Maybe kind of tie some of this stuff in together with it. Making it look kind of cool. Some whispering. Make it look like it's moving a little bit. So I'm gonna let you guys take a step back and look at it to kind of get where we're going with all this the way it is. So everything's going from the left to the right in the image. That way it's kind of telling a story as you're going, like the beginning of the movie, and then it kind of draws out towards the ending of the movie. Like I said, if you haven't go watch this movie, go watch it. It's a really good movie. I think it was made like in the late 90s, so it's kind of got that old, it's set back in the day anyway, so it's got that old feeling to it, that dreary feeling. It's just a really cool movie to go watch, especially for Halloween. So I recommend going and watching this. I want to continue on down to this side and start chiseling this stuff out, and then I'll come back and we'll do the next layer and get everything else punched out. Everything is now, well, mostly everything, not everything that's going on this, but everything that needed to be mapped in is now mapped in. So I'm going to show you guys everything I've went ahead and kind of just sketched in here real quick. Got the bridge, got a moon, got the Headless Horseman itself. And then you go over here, and we got the windmill behind the tree that he comes out of. So now we're ready to move on to the black part of this. Now this is just to get proportions and anything else down to make you see and realize what's going where. So now we're ready to go back in with the black that's been over reduced and starting to add in the darker highlights or shadows. That way everything else is kind of brought forward. So a lot of the stuff that's in the foreground is going to get hit. That way everything in the everything in the background is going to get hit. That way everything in the foreground is going to kind of pop out at you. So the way I did this was I mixed up, it's mostly black, which is over reduced, and I put a little bit of strata blue in it. Now you would do this for one, if you're going over black with when white's already down, the white turns like a tannish, like a dirty brown color. Like, it's really weird to explain it, but it just doesn't look right unless you're doing the entire project like that. And it's hard to get rid of it, to be honest with you, because if you go back over white, it just makes it a mess. So I always add a little bit of blue to the black to kind of knock that down. So that's how you get away from getting from that brownish tint that the overspray. If you get any overspray, it's going to turn it brown. And it's pretty over reduced. So I'm going to set you guys up, and we're going to start working in these shadows to shade all this stuff to make it all kind of pop out. And then we're going to start moving on to the next process, which is pretty much getting all this not to be white, but we're going to put like a blue tint to it. Not really overpowering blue, like a strong blue and just blast it, but it's going to put a little bit of a tint to it. That way it's not just black and white. It's going to be like kind of like a black and bluish, white, grayish, all throughout this. So We're gonna do that after we do this black, and then we're gonna move back into the white and kind of knocking out these details, and then going through and adding all the fun stuff. That's gonna kind of go through all this and make it all one big piece. So I'm gonna set you guys up. We're gonna go through this. All right, so I've actually taken my cap off of my airbrush so I can get some really close detail with this and get in there, because these images are really pretty small. Like, my hand is huge, my hand's definitely bigger than the image itself. So we got black in this. I've got my reference photo. I did have the air pressure set at little high because my other airbrush has a MAC valve. I don't want to change the air pressure on the compressor, so this might seem a little loud compared to what I'm usually running at, but my fluid is running pretty well right now, so I don't want to kind of mess with that. So if you can deal with the noise, if not, you can turn the volume down. But we're just going to start adding in some of these darker areas to this image and getting these shadows and stuff popped out. Now we're gonna start moving down. And you see when I'm putting color down, it's not really turning it brown at all. There are some spots where I really blasted it and it kind of, it's not really brown, but it's got like a yellow tint to it. And that's what that blue eliminates. A lot of this, if I didn't put that blue in this, all this black would be pretty much, everything around it would be yellow and brown and nasty. It might seem like I'm really blocking everything in with this and killing all the white. I'm really just trying to get all those dark areas to come back. And then we'll grab the white again, like I said, and we'll go back over and really pop this thing out. And then peel that back a little bit. That's actually his foot on the other side. Move you guys over just a tad. Come liking that. starting to get a little bit of realism, especially in him, the Headless Horseman, so it's coming out really, really good. And then we need to, I'm gonna set you guys back a little bit. We're gonna do the tail. Oop. Well, you guys saw that, but it shot out a bunch of, it seemed like reducer got clogged up in there. Did you guys see that? All that clear stuff, that's all reducer. So I want to make sure this is dry because it is reducer will. We'll ruin it. Oh. I don't think it's reducer. I think it's... Yep, that's what I thought. So, I'm gonna have to stop right here. I've got water coming through my line, so that means my compressor needs drained. So we're gonna pause and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So actually, it wasn't water, it was reducer. Since I've got this so reduced, the black was starting to separate from the reducer. So I had just pretty much, I drained the tank too just to make sure, but just when that happens, if you've got something that's really over reduced and you're sitting here for a long time working your project, you might run into this issue. So I just pretty much looked inside of it and saw it, and then I just kind of shook it up and then cleaned it out. And you just kind of do a couple little sprays with it, and then you should be ready to go. Had me worried for a minute because I do have a moisture trap on the compressor, but it's not the best. Water and stuff still gets through on the line sometimes, so you just got to be really careful with that, because anything like that, contamination coming through your airline, will ruin your paint job no matter what you're doing. I just kind of did it again. I might have to thicken this up a little bit because it's pretty, I don't know if you guys can see that, with how runny it is. It's just shooting the reducer and stuff through the airbrush at this time, so I'm gonna start shaking it up a lot more, then we'll keep going. Alright, I like that. The tail looks really, really good. Now we're going to start moving down to his lower parts. Oh. I'm really pushing that through there. Whoa. That was a lot. I'm gonna stop and figure out why this thing is pushing all that through. What I want to show you guys, I might have to just go ahead and mix up some more black, but let's take a step back and let's look at it real quick, and then I'll figure out what's going on with the airbrush. It's coming out really cool. Everything's starting to come forward, so we just got to keep working it with that black. So I'm going to fix my airbrush real quick and then we'll jump back into it. Alright, so I figured out the problem. I was just shooting way too much air pressure for however reduced I was painting it. It was just separating it, and it was pretty much just blowing out reducer. So what I did was I just added a little bit more blue to it. And yeah, it seems to be working fine. I turned down the air pressure quite a bit. I just had it cranked up from my other gun because I've got a MAC valve. If you don't know what a MAC valve is, it's this little valve right there at the bottom of the airbrush. It allows you to adjust air pressure on your airbrush no matter what your tank is set to, your compressor. And I guess I had it way too high for my reduction. So just add a little bit of blue to it. And now I went around and I just kind of shaded some of the stuff really quick. Like the moon and the guy again. So I've got a little extra blue in here. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is we're just gonna dust this guy, the Headless Horseman, with this and kind of just knock everything back a little bit. And it might turn them, you might start seeing it turn a little bit of blue. I don't know if you guys can see that on the video, but it's a very, very light blue. It's just a cool little effect. Trying to get away from that black and white. Trying to just make it look a little bit older than what the picture actually is. So it just helps knock that back. I don't know if you guys can see that on here or not, but definitely can tell in person. And you can look at the moon that I haven't hit yet, and you see the difference. So we're gonna do that to the moon as well. Just to knock it back a little bit. Kind of hit the fog around it, knock it back too. Like I said, we want that blue tint to it. Not overpower it, but just a little bit of that blue tint. And I like that. Now we can start moving on to the bridge. So we're gonna set this up for you guys. I'm gonna do the same exact thing. We're just gonna go through this really quick. Get my reference photo out. And we're just gonna go through this very quickly. This one shouldn't take too long because there's not much to it. Just want to hit those dark spots. The windows are all dark. I'm not blacking everything out, I'm just kind of making some stuff known. I keep moving you guys. I want you guys to get a good video of this. Trying to get as close as I can with you guys on this stuff. That way you can see exactly what all I'm doing. Like that right there. That just a little bit of stuff you can do will just make it look that much better. Then we're gonna move to these windows up here. You can always mask this stuff off too. If you're not comfortable enough to go on this and just kill it freehand. Obviously, if you mask this stuff off, it's gonna definitely be a lot better than freehanding. But I am freehanding this because this photo is in the background, so it doesn't need to be razor sharp. It just needs to be where you can see it and you know what it is, kind of blurred out a little bit. We're just gonna knock that back a little. And then some of these boards down here, we're gonna just kind of make the cracks in the boards a little more pronounced. Not too crazy, don't need anything too crazy on it. Just a little bit. Oops. You want to be kind of careful when you're doing this. You don't want to go too crazy and get rid of a lot of the stuff you already have. But if you do mess up, you don't have to worry so much because you are going to come back in and kind of knock down a lot of this and go back over it. This just gives us a lot of different layers. It makes it look like it's got a ton of different layers in it once you're finally done. So I like the way that looks. Got a couple of rocks down here. We're gonna knock in here. Nothing too crazy because, like I said, it's in the background and whatnot. So now we can go back over this and just kind of mist. I'm gonna do this first. I'm just gonna shadow the top of that a little bit. And we're gonna go back in and just mist it like we did the rest of everything else. And everything in and around it. Clouds. Might go in here and put a little bit more definition in the clouds or the fog. A little bit of both I've got going on, so. Liking that. So now this whole side is all looks the same as far as what we're going for right now in this second stage, and then we can move on to the right side and do the exact same thing. And I might go through here and just add a little bit more black to some of this fog that's rolling around here, and then we're going to do something that's going to really bring all this to life. So I'm going to go ahead, work on this side, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's done. But that's what the before is, so you'll see what the after looks like in a minute. So it's starting to come to life a little bit, even though it's really dark right now. There's not much color to it besides the black and the white and a little bit of blue that's in there. But this next thing I'm going to do is really going to set this thing off as far as the composition of everything, because right now it just looks like things are floating on it. There's not much. Nothing's really grounded, but this next thing's going to ground everything there. Since I have my black and my airbrush, I'm going to go ahead and do it. That way it's done. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what that is. So I've got two references, or actually it's the same reference. It's just two copies. Yeah, just same reference, just two copies that I printed off of some grave sites that I like, some tombstones. One grave site, but a lot of tombstones in this grave site that I really, really liked. And what we're gonna do is, towards the bottom of the skate deck, we're gonna make all these different sizes, and we're gonna make them look like it's just like sitting there. That way there's graves all the way around the bottom edge of this board. That way everything's kind of like in that graveyard, Sleepy Hollow feel to it. And this is just an image I found that I really liked after doing some searching online. And this is what I came up with. We have a colored copy and a black copy. So you might wonder what I'm doing with this. These are actually two different sizes. This is the bigger one. This is the smaller one. So I like these because there's like a lot of old, it looks old and gothic, kind of like what the movie was set in. So I think this will go really, really well. And there's going to be probably a couple more that I'm probably going to print off and do, because I want a couple of these to be actually bigger than this. But for right now, we're going to do this. And that is, we're going to go through and cut all these crosses out and all these tombstones. And then we're going to use this as kind of like your positive mask. And we're just going to blast them in with black as a silhouette. So everything, even back here, we're going to make this back here look like a little grave site back here. And some of these are going to be like sideways. There's a lot of cool composition to it that's going to really draw everything into this piece. So that is the idea. That's why I put a lot of fog around this, because it's going to be nothing but black for these tombstones. So it's going to be something that's going to draw your eyes to it. And when I get done doing this, it's all going to flow really well together, because we're going to do something else around the border of this as well. So this is really going to put this piece all in one sync, like a form, all in one form, as far as like the composition goes. And then we're going to do like the pumpkins spread out everywhere. I might put some back here, some leaning against a tree, some just kind of floating back here, leaning against the tombstones, all that stuff. So that's why we're going to go ahead and do this, because this is going to be kind of just all one silhouette. And if we ever need to, we can go back in and blast them again too. So that's the idea. So we're going to get this. I'm going to start cutting these out. We're going to get right back. We're going to blast these in. All right, so we have everything ready to go. I went through and cut out all the stuff that I want. All different shapes and sizes of tombstones. Even did some drawings of ones, just unique ones. Now this is probably overkill. Got some bigger ones. This is probably overkill, but the more the better, because you do not want the same. I mean, I guess you could put the same throughout the entire thing, but the more variety you have, because usually tombstones are not the same. So I tried to choose ones that were actually older, nothing that was newer for the time frame that this is taken in. So keep that in consideration too. So do a little bit of research, get what you need for what you're doing, and you can either print it out like this one, or you can draw it and cut it out, and it will make a really great stencil. If you haven't seen my videos before, I do a lot of paper stencils, and this is how I do them. Usually draw, or if I have somebody that wants a reference photo or something, I cut it out, print it out, cut it out, and use that as a stencil. So really easy. This is the cheapest way you can make a stencil. The cheapest way is a piece of paper and some, you know, a pencil or a pen and a razor blade. Cut it all out by hand. It is tedious, but this makes it fly by, because these are going to be sporadic everywhere, but they're all going to be just silhouettes. So there's not going to be any detail on this, and they're all going to be black. So it's going to really jump out in the background, and some of these are going to be in the foreground, like the bigger ones will be in the foreground. So it's just going to give it that nice transition from the color and this regular black. So I'm going to place these. We're going to get these sprayed, mix them black up, get them sprayed, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Gravestones are added. Looks really good. And I also started on the tree part. That was something I didn't tell you guys I was going to do, but I think with the trees in the background, little bits here and there, it all flows really well. I even put some back here behind the bridge to make it look like going into the woods. But take a step back. I don't know if there's a glare on this for you guys, so let me move it. That way you guys can get out of the glare. Black tends to have a glare, so. Hopefully you guys can see all this pretty well. I just started working on the trees, kind of how I wanted them. Even got some over here in the corner. So, you can kind of see where I'm going with this, right? None of the tombstones or the trees are going to get any kind of white or any highlights or anything like that. So when you look at this, the black is going to stand out. Obviously, they're just kind of like, they're silhouetted on there, but it creates a really good contrast and kind of separates the images from each other, but also creates kind of like a picture for you. And there's going to be something else I'm going to add at the very end of this that's going to really tie all this off. So some of this down here at the bottom you might not see, and it's going to wrap around the entire board. That's going to be pretty cool looking. But I'm going to add a little bit more trees, kind of. I think I'm going to add some up here a little bit. I really want to shoot one through the moon. That way it looks like the moon is lit up against the tree. I think that would be really cool, but I need to add some. I want to wrap them around kind of like back here, so I need to add some back here a little bit and just keep going. I kind of stopped right here just to see, but I want to wrap them around all the way around here, then they're going to disappear kind of when you get closer to the moon. So I'm going to do that, but I think after I do that, it is pretty much the way I want it to be laid out. This is what I call just a sketch. It gets the images down, and now we're going on to the final, probably the final, I'm gonna call it the final layout layer that I'm going to be putting on this, and we're going to really pop all these images out. Like I said, the gravestones, the tombstones, and the trees are not going to be touched. They're staying just regular black. But everything else, I'm going to mix up a certain color, and we're going to go through and start shading all this stuff to pop it out. And then we're going to start putting, like I said, I want to put pumpkins. Like I want to put some pumpkins around here, maybe up by the bridge, maybe one or two leaning against this tombstone, these trees right here. I'm going to definitely put one over here by this tree. Maybe put one way back in the background back here somewhere against the windmill. But I'm going to put these pumpkins everywhere, and they're going to be done a specific way, because there's going to be some things on this that have color. So if you get what I'm saying, you might understand what I'm going to do. But that's going to be done in the next video. I'm stopping the video right here. This one's being very, very long already, so I don't want to draw it out even longer. It's probably over an hour. So I want to stop it right here, and we're going to continue on, but we're going to do it in the next video. So if you want to see what this is going to on its final form, if you want to see the final ending of this, then you're going to watch, you have to stay tuned and watch for the next video to come out, because there are going to be little pops of color here and there, and we're going to put more pumpkins in it, and we're going to light some stuff up. That should give you an idea. And it's going to be a really nice contrast to like the bluish, blackish, grayish, whitish tone that's going to be throughout this whole thing, and it's going to catch your eye. And then, like I said, I'm going to do one final thing at the very end after all my airbrush work is done and all the layers I want to do on this is done. We're going to do one more thing to really, really make this board stand out. It's going to be really cool, so you're going to have to stay tuned until the next one. So thanks for watching. I'm going to get this video uploaded, edited, really not edited, but uploaded and sent off to YouTube. That way you guys can watch it, because it is going to be a long one. So stay tuned for the next one. I'll see you guys later.